And what we're doing here is hopefully to give everybody hope for the future, to help everyone escape a potentially crappy life and lead you to one that really is a fulfillment of your goals, of your dreams, the things that you're trying to accomplish in your life. I know in the intro video, I talked about helping people discover their purpose and then equipping you with the tools to go out there and actually make that purpose happen so that we don't spend a lifetime just dreaming about what we want to do or thinking about what we want to do. We actually spend our life on the journey to doing what we know or what we believe that we are created to do. Now, some of you watching may already understand your life's purpose, and really what you're looking for is more focused leadership and coaching to help you become that elite person that you already really are in your core. You know, one of the things that I'm very passionate about, I'll even say that I'm addicted to, is getting knowledge and getting empowered, not just in and of myself, but through the books that I read, through my study of scripture and spiritual development, and through the mentors that I bring into my life. And what we really focus on here, just to give a brief summary, if this is your first time tuning in and you've not seen any of our other pre-recorded videos, we really focus on the spiritual development, the empowering of the soul, but also the empowering of the body, really taking everybody through the idea of how do we discover who we are spiritually, physically, emotionally, soulishly, and even physically, financially. We'll talk about things. I'm going to have my wife even come on the show to talk about how we've put together almost 15 years of a legitimately happy marriage, not just something we say on camera, but something that we genuinely have and want to be able to share with the world and help other people, hopefully, to achieve. So that's really the goal here, to help you live the best life possible, one that's full of fulfillment and one that is in line with the dreams that I believe God has put in your heart for your life to live. Now, before we get into the weekly wrap-up, we've got a lot to discuss, kind of the format here, the idea of what we're going to be doing. I'm going to be going over the topics that I've discussed, not only in pre-recorded videos. We're going to start with this Iskra Lawrence situation that popped off this week. I'm also going to talk briefly about the emails that I've sent out this week. So hopefully all of you that are watching this who are subscribed to the YouTube channel are also over on my website, bryantchambers.com, so that you can then subscribe to my newsletter, my mailing list, where I send out daily encouragement. Yes, even on the weekends. I've got messages, things in my heart, things that I've come across, and things that people have taught me that I want to be able to share and impart with you. They're very short. I try to keep them extremely short and sweet because I know people are usually at work. You've got other things going on in your life besides listening to me talk for an hour and a half or write you a 7-page email. So I try to keep it very short. Here's something that can help you with what you're doing today or what you're trying to do with your life. So definitely subscribe to our mailing list over on the website. It's the main blue button at the top of the screen. I believe that's whether you're on mobile or even if you're on your PC, so that you can get that. So the idea here is we're going to summarize what we talked about this week, give you an opportunity to ask questions. Let's do some Q&A. It doesn't necessarily have to be about a topic that we've discussed throughout the course of the week. It may just be something that's on your heart, whether it's about spiritual development, whether it's about, developing the soul, as I call it, the mind, the will, and the emotions, getting knowledge, imparting, wisdom and knowledge to yourself through books, through mentors, through the things that we say here. But then also talking about physical. I'm going to have some physical challenges as we get down the line with the channel. Going to be taking you through some of the workouts that I do, not just to stay in shape. What I tell people, especially people that I physically train, because I have a handful of people that I do physical training for, what I tell them with the way that I train, it's more for my mental and emotional stability than it is for my physicality, even though, naturally, as a former football player and soldier, I am a very physical and naturally competitive and aggressive person in a good way. But we're going to talk about some of those things too. So without further ado, we're going to get into this. I do want to break briefly to talk about what you see here on my shirt. A quick advertisement, if you will. I am not sponsored by these folks. Reboot Combat Recovery. This is actually a group that I am a part of. And I want to say that if you are a former combat soldier, a current combat soldier, any type of veteran, or you know somebody who's struggling with the after effects and the spiritual wounds that war has on anybody that's been through it. I don't care how strong and how hard you are. War is hard on the individual. If you know anybody that's struggling as a result, this program exists. It's actually a faith-based organization and program designed to help all of us actually work through the pain that war has caused us and our families. It's not just about the soldier, the Marine, the sailor, or the airman, or even the folks Coast Guard, whatever the case may be. It's also about helping the families heal together. I've been through the program. They're not sponsoring this message. I just really am passionate about this group. This is a group that I'm going to partner with. I'm actually working with to run a recovery group of my own, hopefully in the near future. And a lot of what we're doing here at Bryant Chambers is even going to be financially tied to what this group is doing. I personally give to the organization, but what I do here on Bryant Chambers in terms of bringing in revenue, I'm going to work out something with this group where part of what we make here will also go to support. Because at the end of the day, one of the main things we're trying to prevent and working to prevent and are preventing is combat veteran suicide, something where we lose upwards of 22 men and women daily to the hopelessness and the despair that has overcome some of our folks out there that are still hurting and are in need of recovery. And this program exists and it's spreading to help people out. So Reboot Combat Recovery, if you know anybody or if you're a person who's in need, please be sure to check them out. And it's totally free, by the way. I give to them because I want to support what's going on there. I'm not asking for donations. I'm literally just asking if you know anybody who's out there hurting, let's get them the help that this program is designed to give them. So again, thank you so much everybody for tuning in. Want to jump into the first topic tonight, this whole issue with Iskra Lawrence. All right, admittedly, I didn't know who this woman was until yesterday when I was doing some research on the topic of criticism, which is going to be tomorrow's newsletter that I send out, is how to deal with haters and criticism. It's something that I talk about at length. It's actually in the book that I wrote for YouTubers. Actually, aside from doing this, I have another project that I do where I help YouTubers grow their presence and build their brand on YouTube. And one of the chapters in my book is actually dedicated to dealing with something that I think Iskra handled very well. And I wanted to talk about it a little bit here tonight, kind of as a prelude to what's going to go out in the email tomorrow. And this idea of dealing with criticism, you know, the way I look at it with the people I coach, I've always said that when it comes down to criticism, always consider the source of the criticism. You know, the analogy I use when I'm talking to friends or people that I'm coaching is consider the source of your criticism. I've been criticized by people who literally, it's the equivalent of someone who's 5 feet tall telling me that I'm short. The criticism doesn't even make sense. I'm a foot and several inches taller than you. You calling me short doesn't even make sense. But we have a tendency that when we receive criticism, to be discouraged and to be put off by that. And I want to encourage you not to be. Consider the source. But one of the other things I coach people on specifically in my book, I talk about get happy when the haters and the critics start to show up, because when they do, it means you're starting to do something that's getting noticed and is of some significance, to the point where several people who are probably dealing and struggling with cognitive dissonance, something we'll talk about in later videos, just can't handle the fact that you're having any type of success. You know, I've always found in my life the folks that are the most vocal, running their mouths, especially on the internet where they don't have to look me in the face and criticize me, are usually people who cannot or will not do something, and they're watching you do it, and they wish, maybe they're not wishing to do exactly what you're doing, but they're wishing they could do something that was of value. They're watching you do it, and it's putting them off. In Iskra's case, what I found really interesting was she's on Instagram, and if you don't know who she is, because I certainly didn't, and frankly, I don't know a lot about her except from what went on in this issue, but she is a plus-size model. And I thought that was kind of strange, because when I saw her, I was like, America's standards are crazy. Because I was like, she's not even, maybe I don't know what a plus-size model is, because she didn't look like whatever I would consider a plus-size thing to be. But the point is, someone comes on her Instagram, just a troll, some random person, and calls her a fat cow, right? And then they're talking something along the lines of her pigging out on chips. And so she takes a picture in her bathing suit with bags of chips all over her and all over the floor with her hand in the bag getting ready to eat another chip. And what I appreciated about that is not that she responded to the critic, because a lot of times I tell people just to ignore them, but it's the way that she embraced the criticism itself. She's accepted the fact that she is not the size of a typical model. It's not what she's trying to be, I imagine. It's just not who she is. And so for someone to criticize her at the very core of what she does, could discourage a lot of people. But for her, she was just like, you're right, I like chips. Bam, I'm going to take a picture of me eating chips. So what it shows is she's a person who has confidence in what she does. She's assured that what she's doing is right, that she's on the right path for her, whatever that is, I don't know. To the point where that type of criticism doesn't even take her off her game. And that's what I want to encourage all of you with, is not to allow criticism to get you off your game, especially for those of you who are new at anything, whether it's folks that I'm coaching on YouTube, or it's just things that you're trying to do in your life. Maybe you're trying to launch a business for the first time. Maybe you're going to college. Maybe whatever the case may be, criticism is going to come and find you. Just take it in stride and really get, like, when I get haters and critics, I actually get joyed in this weird kind of way, where it's the fact that I said something that was of great enough significance for you to call me a name or you to yell at me and tell me how wrong I am means I struck a nerve. Now, it's not my intent to go around striking people's nerves, but I do like the fact that the things that I say are not met with indifference, because indifference to me is much more painful than having to deal with someone who's critical of the things that I'm doing. And that's what I want to encourage you all with. They're coming. Don't let them bother you. And it's funny, Mahatma Gandhi gets accredited for this quote, this: first they ignore you, then they ridicule you, then they hate you, and then you win. I don't think he actually said that. He had some quotes in a book that were along those lines, but the main one from the book that I really took away is that rejection or ridicule and repression are very similar, in that when both of them fail to have the desired outcome of the person levying the ridicule at you, they both end with the person respecting you. And Nicholas Klein is actually the one who had the quote that was similar to first they ignore you. And he says, first they ignore you, then they ridicule you, then they hate you and want to burn you, and then they build a statue for you. And he was a union worker back in the early 1900s. And what's interesting about that, the reason why I tell people to get happy specifically, is you're going to start off getting ignored. And for like new YouTubers, I always tell them, it's hard to get that momentum going when you first start a channel. So I just started this channel. This isn't my first rodeo on YouTube. I've actually been here for a while. But for folks that don't know how to manage the platform, it can be very disheartening to put video after video after video out and not see that instant gratification of people watching, liking, and subscribing. And then eventually you get the hater, the person that comes on every video and hits the downvote for whatever reason. But I tell people to get excited about that, because when you see any type of engagement, it means they're no longer ignoring you. You're doing something that's getting people involved. So, okay, consider the source, and most importantly, don't let criticism, if you know you're doing the right thing and you're getting criticized or ridiculed for it, stay the course, okay? Don't let other people and their own insecurities and their own desires to be you or be doing what you're doing get you off the course that you know is right, because they're trying to derail you, because misery loves company. That's the way I've always looked at it. When someone's hating on what I'm doing, it's because they're miserable and they want me to be miserable with them, and it's not going to happen. One of the topics we talked about this week, which I think is extremely important, is this idea that strong desire is what keeps us motivated. So hopefully, if you're subscribed to the channel, you've seen all the videos this week. If not, they're there for you to watch at your leisure. One of the things we talked about specifically covered in the happiness hypothesis by Jonathan Haidt, where it talks about this idea of willpower that he calls it. You can look at willpower and motivation as very similar, at least for the purposes of this discussion, where our willpower or our motivation is finite, and it's tied to our emotional state. Okay, so, or it's tied to our emotional mind. So he breaks the mind down into two segments, the emotional mind and the rational mind. And we rationally try to say the reason why I'm failing is because I'm not motivated. And I tell people all the time, I've been coaching people in the gym literally for years, if not for over a decade. And I tell them, it's like, your problem is not motivation. Your problem is you're not hurting bad enough to make the necessary changes to keep your butt in this gym doing these workouts. You feel me? And so what I inevitably tell them is your desire to change is not strong enough to motivate you to take action. And that's what we talked about in the video. You know, I use this analogy all the time with people in the gym. They're like, I want to get in shape, but I'm just not motivated. I said, I bet if I put you on the track and I locked you in a track where you couldn't get out, and I put a wolf or a bear on the track, I bet you would run for your life. And don't tell me that motivation is an issue, because now your motivation becomes staying alive. And so, like I said, the motivation isn't your problem. It's that you don't have a strong enough desire to keep you in the game, to keep you from not eating the things you shouldn't be eating, to keep you going to the gym when you're tired. When one of the things that I struggled with when I was violently overweight, because I was in the Army, I got out and I started, I've always preferred to be the size of a football player. The Army wanted me to be a lot smaller. So as soon as I got out of the Army, I went right back to lifting and getting bigger. But I almost broke my foot off playing basketball with my cousin. Hey, we got Game Dip and Hickville Productions, and my buddy Chris came before he went to work. See, that's love right there, man. I appreciate you guys for coming out. So I almost broke my foot, like literally, if this is my foot, I broke it almost off, my leg. Fortunately, I didn't, but I was in a cast for I don't know how many months, and I couldn't run. So I picked up a lot of weight because I was in so much pain, and I wasn't going to go to the gym with this big boot on my foot. And I got not, terribly overweight, but I was not in the shape that I like being in. I wasn't looking the way that I like to look. And so what it took was, I saw a picture of myself. It was before I had kids. I was holding my puppy. And I looked like a couch potato slob. And I've never been that guy. I've always been the football player. I've always been, bigger. Well, I guess when I was younger, I was very skinny. But since I've been in the Army, I've always been a bigger dude. And, not like rail skinny. And I just didn't like what I saw. And it I hated it enough I was like, all right, as soon as my leg heals, what I'm going to do until I'm healed enough to run again is I'm just going to lift weights. So I became a bodybuilder. I became a power lifter, and then I became a bodybuilder. And so my goal was, if I have to be big, I'm going to get big on purpose the right way. And I got up to almost 300 pounds of it wasn't all muscle. Let me not lie. I made some mistakes. I had some learning to do as a bodybuilder. Probably should have spent more time letting Arnold Schwarzenegger coach me with his books instead of trying to do it all on my own. But the point is, I had a desire that was so strong. I wanted to be able to bench press 500 pounds 5 times. I wanted to be able to squat 1,000. That desire became so strong in me that I literally was going to the gym 6 days a week. I never skipped. I would go sick. Or if I was sick, I'd work out at home so I wouldn't get other people sick. But I would never skip a workout. I was eating 2 whole chickens a day, like 3 protein shakes. Like, it was insane how disciplined I was. And it wasn't because I'm a person that has a ton of discipline. It's because I had such a strong desire that it empowered the discipline that was there. So stop trying to make yourself more disciplined. Stop trying to pep talk yourself into having motivation. It's not going to work. What you've got to do is cultivate your desire. So we got a comment here from Game Dip that says, hey, Brian, I just wanted to say you affected me personally, and I decided to pray for someone at Subway because I thought it would be something you would do if you felt called to do it. Yeah, man, that's awesome. Thanks for sharing that, bro. That's awesome. Okay, so we got the strong desire keeps us motivated. All right, that was one of the main things we talked about this week. I also summarized the book, and understand when I say summary, Managing Oneself is the book, by the way, and let me pull it up here so you can actually see it. One of the most important books, I'd say, just period. I read this book almost like I read my Bible. It's that good. You're talking about the Einstein of business. But even though he focused on business, what he has to say has implications for our life, period. And I was very appreciative of that one of my business mentors is actually the one that put me onto this book. I was angry because none of my life mentors throughout my younger days told me about the book, but they didn't know about it. So I'm not mad at them. I'm just mad that I didn't read it. But when I say book summary, I don't mean I go line by line and make it so that you don't have to read the book. I actually make the summaries purposefully so that you are inspired to go read the book, to be able to get the nuances and the things that I can't cover in a summary. I also do longer-winded summaries for the folks who are partners with the Bryant Chambers movement. Over on my website, there's a place where you can become a partner. Not trying to pitch it, just letting you know that the longer-winded book summaries that are like 20 to 30 minutes long are things that I don't think people on YouTube will want to watch. And it's something that I can give back. Like I'm always about, if someone's giving me something to forward my mission and what I'm trying to do to help people, I always want to give something back. Okay, but we talked about Peter Drucker's book, and the main takeaway, what's up, Crow Jack? Good to see you. So just so you guys know how I run my live shows, I will totally interrupt what I'm talking about to interact with the crowd. It's just kind of, maybe it goes back to my music days where I played a style of music where crowd participation was a heavy part of what we did. So if that's kind of off-putting, I apologize, just kind of how I roll. But this book, if I had one thing, like if you just, what's the one thing you could tell me about this book? You have 30 seconds to convince me that it's awesome. The bottom line is you cannot do anything in your life successfully if it's built off of your weaknesses, okay? Everything that you want to accomplish in your life, you need to focus on your strengths, what you are good at, what your psychology and personality temperament predispose you to be. A lot of the people that are watching this video are in an academy that I run that's completely separate from this program. It's something I do specifically just for YouTubers to help them not just grow their brand and their channels, but to grow as creators who give something valuable to the world such that growth becomes an inevitability. Okay? And one of the things I harp on is understanding who you are. And it's going to be a huge part, this know thyself principle that I am just huge about with this project, because knowing yourself is literally 3/4 of the battle. Knowing what makes you tick, what you're predisposed to liking, disliking, being good at, not being good at. Because it helps you save time. Like if you figure those things out when you're 18, by the time you get to be 25, you can be a huge entrepreneur. I didn't start my first company until I was 23. You know what I mean? But if I had had mentors who were teaching me, and I had mentors when I was younger, but they weren't entrepreneurial mentors. You know what I mean? Like I had spiritual mentors who saved my life and got me off a road that would have probably killed me. I wouldn't be here today if it wasn't for a lot of those people. But the point is, knowing yourself and what you are strong at saves you time from experimenting with crap that you're never going to be good at. I was never going to be an amazing golfer. It's just probably not in the cards for me. I was a great football player though. You know what I mean? Could I have played pro? Probably not. But, you know, not everything has to be a professional aspiration. But the point is, build on your strengths. Don't waste a lot of time trying to make something you were weak at good, because what he says in the book is it's much easier to go from great to amazing than it is to go from mediocre or to go from terrible to mediocre. Okay, you'll spend years trying to make something you're terrible at mediocre, whereas if you're already really good at something, getting it to amazing, like, and even for those of you who are interested in starting your own businesses, getting you to amazing in something you're strong at to the point where you can give something of value back to people is so much easier than trying to, I'm never going to be an amazing accountant, okay? I hire an accountant to help me with my business. Now, that's not to say that I don't understand accounting, because I do. I've had experience in my professional career and in my business where I have had to learn, much to my disdain and torture, accounting, budgeting, finance. I've had to learn those things, okay? So you can't just necessarily hire someone to do everything for you. You have to know some things, but I would never try to make my business being somebody's accountant and selling those services, because I will never be great at it, because I don't even like it. I do it because it's a necessity. But the most important parts I actually give to someone that I hire, and we work out, you know, the details of not just the agreement, but I bring to him all of the numbers that I've crunched, and he puts the magic touch on it. Okay? So I know I never need to go try to be somebody's accountant, because it would be torture for me. Or being like an office assistant. I remember years ago, a very close friend and mentor of mine wanted to hire me to be his personal assistant. And I don't mean like the kind you see in the movies where it's, you know, it's just some kid going to get coffee. I mean, like he wanted to hire a 6-figure salary personal assistant. And I turned that job down. And this was a friend of mine and a mentor. And the reason why I turned that job down is because I know I would suck at that. And I would bruise our relationship, because what I'm good at wouldn't allow me, you know, to perform for him in a way that was worthy of his trust in me. Now, later I did go to work for him for a whole separate thing. But the point is, I knew I couldn't do that job. And it hurt me to turn it down because this is somebody who I love this man. I love his family. Like, he's a mentor of mine. It was hard for me to turn it down because he was trying to help me. But I had to be honest with him. I was like, I can't do it because I won't be able to give you what I think you deserve from me, which is my best. And it's just not my strength. Okay? And so those are things like, if you know yourself, and I knew myself at that point in my life, you can avoid the pitfall. If I had taken that job, I would have not done terrible. Don't get me wrong. Like, I would have white-knuckled a good performance, but it wouldn't have been excellent the way I would have wanted it to be for a friend of mine. You feel me? Great. So managing oneself. Can't recommend enough that you all go out and read that book. It's that awesome. So, how to know yourself. We had the prelude video for the How to Know Yourself or the Know Thyself series here. And I'm looking at a comment while I'm talking. Okay, it looks like some folks in the chat are having a chat. Excellent. So, how to know thyself. Really, the only takeaway here is just stay tuned. Okay, I talk about, I gave everybody a homework assignment to read the first chapter of the book of Genesis in the Bible, and to read the first 2 chapters of a book called Please Understand Me. And over the next 2 weeks, next week, we'll have the discussion about the first chapter of the book of Genesis, what God says about who we are. Remember, knowing thyself, knowing who we are created to be. A lot of what I'm talking about and knowing my strengths and my weaknesses is more focused on the soul, my mental disposition. My mental disposition is the word I'm trying to say. My psychology, my personality, temperament, more soulish things. But I also talk about our spiritual makeup, how we're made in God's image and we're made in God's likeness. And I take that to mean we're made to be like God. And we're not there yet, believe me. But I believe part of this life's journey is to become like him at the end of the journey, or, throughout eternity. An eternity spent becoming like our Creator, such that we can do what our Creator does. And when you look at how he's fashioned us, it makes sense, because the command he gives shortly after that creation point is to be fruitful, to multiply, to, I like to say replenish the earth, because that's the old translation, but nowadays I think it says fill the earth, and in some of the newer translations, and to subdue it. There's authority that we have on the earth. Unfortunately, we humans use it to try to lord our authority over one another, and that's where a lot of things go wrong, because so many humans don't understand that leadership is really servanthood, something that Jesus taught at length that we just don't get. We don't get that leading people is being willing to die for them, figuratively or in some cases literally, especially if you come from my line of work. In the early days of my career as a soldier and as a commander of soldiers. But the point is, knowing that God has fashioned us to be like him and to strive every day to be more like him. You hear the scriptures that say to renew your mind, to the mind of Christ. And that's a daily exercise, because we're not wired to just wake up and be perfect at that. It's part of what I think is a God-given struggle, because it's what builds strength. Like if you look at how lifting weights in the gym works, going hard for a year to be able to bench press 500 pounds, you wouldn't just wake up with the mind of Christ going at 100 miles an hour. You have to develop it. And I think that's that willingness to develop it is where the humility comes from that gives us the right to lead. The humility that's needed, the meekness, and I call meekness power under control. Like if you look at a person like Jesus, he wasn't necessarily like a soft-spoken little lamb, like he would get in your face, but he was so powerful, but he had his power under complete control. And that's what I call meekness. And when you look at the first chapter in the book of Genesis, to me, that's really what it's all about, was God giving us the commission. Be fruitful, multiply, replenish, subdue. Take control over your environment and your circumstances. A lot of what makes an entrepreneur is very similar to me as to what you see in Scripture. Now, some people obviously use it for ill, and I'm not someone that supports that necessarily. But the point is, understanding what God has created us to be and do helps us understand that if we're trying to carve out a life on this earth and we are hoping to line it up with how we believe God's created us, then knowing what his intent is helps us do that. Then we get into the more soulish side of the house, understanding our psychology, our mind, with a book like Please Understand Me. And I send everybody to a website called humanmetrics.com where you can take the Myers-Briggs personality test, but there's also the DISC test. There's a lot of different personality tests, and I actually recommend that you take every one that you can get your hands on. The strengths test, Strength Finder, I think is what it's called. I've taken probably all of them, at least all the ones that I know of. And they're all very valuable at giving you information to help you understand who you are, because then that gets into the conversation we were having a second ago with that person who wanted to pay me 6 figures to be their personal assistant, and I turned the job down because I know myself. I don't just chase money, okay? For me, life is not about money. It's about what can I do in the life of someone else to be of value to them, not just so I can bless their life and they'll love me or appreciate me, but so that they'll pay it forward to somebody down the line. And that's how, in my opinion, we are fruitful, multiply, replenish, and subdue, is by passing on the goodness that God brings into our life. Okay? So those are the things we're going to be talking about over the next 2 weeks. That's kind of a summary of it here. I just had a comment come in from my friend Game Dib. He says, Brian, I have 2 books to recommend for reading. You may have already read them, but here they are. The Power of Positive Thinking, that's on my list. I've not read it yet, by Norman Peale, and How Successful People Think by John C. Thank you for the recommendations, my friend. I will add that second one to the list. I don't believe I've read that one either. I know of The Power of Positive Thinking. I know a lot of the precepts that are in it, but I've never actually sat down and read the book. So thank you very much for the recommendation, good sir. I will add those to the list, maybe even do a summary for them here if I think they're up to snuff with the greats like Will Durant, Peter Drucker, and, you know, people like St. Paul or Moses. Let's see. Going into this latter part here is jumping into the newsletters that I sent out this week. So there's 3 of them so far. Tomorrow we're going to talk about criticism, which we've already talked about at the beginning of the show tonight. This idea that you're not alone. So why does the first video start with "you are not alone"? What I'm trying to get across in that message, and what I'm hoping is coming across in that message, is that with this movement, not just me, but everyone that basically, when you subscribe, you are telling me that you want to be a part of this movement. Not just that you want to keep up with my YouTube videos, because my YouTube videos aren't there just to get a ton of subscribers. They're there to help people. So when you subscribe, you're committing to helping me push the message, not just my message, but the message of all these great people forward out to the people that will come across it and hopefully benefit from it. So when I say you are not alone, I mean that quite literally. The person that comes across that video, that thing that you feel in your soul, this idea that your life isn't quite where you want it, or whatever you're going through in your life, like I talked about earlier with Reboot Combat Recovery. If you're struggling as a soldier or a former soldier who's struggling with the spiritual and physical and mental and emotional wounds that come from war, you've got advocates, not just in me, but in a host of people who will be willing to help you. This program included. So "you are not alone" is the first message I sent out, just to let everyone know that signs up here that you have an advocate in me. And what does that mean as an advocate? You have someone that's going to be in your corner, that's going to encourage you, that's going to kick you in the behind when I think you need it. Okay? Not just blowing smoke at you or telling you that the world is all roses, rainbows, and unicorns, because it ain't. Sometimes what I'm going to send out is going to be tough. All right? But it's because I want to get across things to you that can help you get where you are trying to go. Not where I'm trying to drive you. This is your life. I'm just trying to help you get to whatever your dream is. And you have someone that will pray for you. Okay? It's as simple as that. Someone who I pray for everyone I'm connected to literally every single day. I may have missed 1 or 2 days in the last 18 years. Okay? Because I was injured or asleep or I don't know. But you know, the point is, that's what you have in this program, okay, is someone who's in your corner. Let's see, my friend Senelin just showed up and says, just started a notepad file with these 3 titles. Excellent. Because when we love ourselves, what else can we want but to teach others to love? Exactly right. So true. Yes, Rishi showed up. What's up, Rishi? Good to see you. So everybody, this is a good friend of mine. From Rishi Cup TV. I hope all of you have had the chance to check her out. Those of you that know me, some of you are new and have just signed on with the Bryant Chambers project, mission, program, movement. But a lot of you are from my other channel where I, help out YouTubers, and Rishi is someone that I've had the pleasure and the honor of becoming friends with. Awesome person who has awesome content. Be sure to check her out, please. But that's what we say when you are not alone. The second email I sent out this week was titled, I Love You. And I totally made that eye-catching on purpose because I wanted everyone to read it. But it's the message that's in it that's important. And one of the things I do in my videos that I realize, especially because my other channel focuses so much on video games, getting to the end of the video and telling a group of video game players that I love you may sound awkward. But I mean it when I say it. And what I did with this email was to help all of you understand that when I end a video, because I end most of them by saying, I love you, or I love you guys, I wanted you to understand that it wasn't some hokey, corny expression of my affinity for someone who I've never met in real life, okay? This is taken specifically from Paul, if you know of St. Paul's first letter to the church at Corinth in the New Testament, better known as 1 Corinthians chapter 13, where he describes love. And most specifically, he describes love as something that's not selfish, something that's patient and kind. A person that shows love is selfless. Okay, when you look at Jesus loving people, he loved people enough, if you believe the story, to die for them so that they could live and not suffer the way that he did. Figuratively speaking, I don't think he did what he did to keep people off of crosses, for my sticklers for the human language there, for the English language. But the point here is that you have someone who, to the best of my ability, will be kind, to the best of my ability will be patient, but most importantly, someone who is selfless, who will put your needs and equate them with my own. Now, I'm not of the mindset that you beat yourself up to the point of your own detriment to try to help someone else, because you can't. It's just like in a combat situation, if a chemical weapon is dropped, you have to put your gas mask on first before you try to go help other people. Otherwise, you'll be dead and you can't help anybody, okay? It's the same thing. But like Paul said, counting others as greater than myself, that's something that's very important to me, and I try with all of my soul to live my life by. I don't always get it right. Sometimes I get selfish, okay? I'm not perfect. I don't think I needed to say that. But the point is, you have someone who is legitimately concerned about not just your well-being, because I don't want people to just have an okay life, where it's my life is a little bit better because I used to watch this dude's videos. No. At the end of this journey, whenever that is, in eternity, I would like in eternity for you guys to come up to me and be like, yo, those videos you did, and not for my ego, but because I want you to win, because if you win, more people will win, okay? I want people to come up and be like, yo, those videos helped me live such a great life. And by great life, I mean not I got, yeah, you want the car, you want the house, you want the beautiful woman, those are things that we all desire. But more importantly, you lived a fulfilling life where your dreams, you got to see whatever it is that you're dreaming about. I had a pastor, may he rest in peace, one time that said something so profound to me early in my, coming to faith, if that's what you want to call it. Getting saved is what some people call it. I always thought the term getting saved was kind of weird. Even though it is in scripture, I just think the way we use it nowadays is kind of, I didn't grow up in church, so some of the terminology was always kind of weird to me. But one of the things he said was, some of you are looking for that thing you want to do in your life. And the next thing he said is, I'll make it real simple for you. What's the thing that if you don't get to do it, you'll feel like, what's the thing that if you don't get to do it, you will die? And it was like the light bulb went off in my head the minute he said that. And I was a 19, maybe 20-year-old kid, back then. And it was just like, yo, this dude. And that's kind of the same thing. We all have dreams. We all have aspirations. I don't want you to get to the end of this journey and be like, I had a dream. And that's the end of the discussion. I want the end of the journey to be, I had a dream and something that was imparted to me, not by my wisdom, because believe me, you don't want to rely just on my knowledge. The wisdom of people way smarter than me being imparted to you. You were able to actually accomplish your dream. But remember, I said this whole movement isn't about me and it ain't about you. It's about what we can do collectively in the lives of other people. And that repeats itself over and over and over again, to where theoretically, you could eradicate a lot of the problems the earth had if more people thought about their fellow man or their fellow woman. Okay? So that's the meaning of love. And then we talked briefly about rejection. I tried to make that video kind of that email kind of humorous, that everybody deals with rejection. And the key was, I talked about one of my mentors, my first real spiritual mentor, who, I used to struggle with rejection. I'd always felt rejected because I dealt with a lot of rejection, especially early in my life. And so I was insecure about a lot of things when I was younger. And so he was just like, dude, if Jesus got rejected, you're getting rejected. Like, you need to man up. But more importantly, look at how Jesus handled rejection. And when you look at how he handled it, he never let it get him off course. And that's what a lot of us do. The minute we get rejected, the minute our YouTube channel doesn't grow the way we want it to, our business fails, we apply for a job and don't get it, we think the sky is falling, which is hilarious to watch Americans emotionally go through that. If you've ever been to another country where people don't have running water or shoes, you'll become very appreciative of some of the things that you have living in this wonderful country. And so we get this mentality that that's just the way it's always going to be. You're always not going to get the job. And it's like, no, look at the intestinal fortitude that Jesus had when he was rejected to the point of getting spit on and beat on. He still stayed the course. For a bunch of people that, I used to joke when I used to do, earlier when I first started working like with ministries and stuff, I used to say, I couldn't have been Jesus, man, because y'all all would have been short. Done. Like, you ain't going to be spitting on me and beating me up. And I got the power. But see, that's part of what we talked about in the beginning, this knowing yourself and knowing that God's created us to be like him. If God gave us all the power we were meant to have from the beginning, we'd be killing each other. Because we haven't developed the maturity to harness that power yet. But we're working on it. And I think to the degree that we work on it and we humble ourselves and we move in the renewing of the mind to the mind of Christ, and we move in submitting ourselves and counting others as greater than ourselves, more and more of that power starts to come our way. So we've got a bunch of comments here. The problem with this app is it fades the comments out. So a bunch of you said stuff and now I can't see it. Anna says, I grew up in church and I find some of the vernacular weird. Someone says, wow, that hit home. If Jesus faced rejection. And I even tell people that I use that example even with friends of mine that are atheists. I'm like, most people agree, at least, that the dude existed. And it's like, he's so revered. I'm like, if this dude is out healing sick people and doing all these great things, he's feeding, hungry people, he's helping people, and he got treated horribly. Like, he didn't even, I can't find, at least not in any historical writings or scripture, where he did anything that was foul. And he got some of the worst treatment out of anybody on the planet. And so I think it's hilarious to think that we're going to go through life and everyone's just going to love everything we do. His power is compassion, just like Buddha. Yeah, I can dig it. Amazing topic. Okay, so that is, in a sense, what we're going to be doing here on the weekly wrap-up videos. Remember, we're going to be doing these every week, Thursday at 9, to the degree that I can control it, because doing it at 9 requires me to put several children in beds, and then they don't go to sleep. And then, the very young one walks down here and starts talking during the stream. So to the degree that I can get children in bed for the weeks to come, months to come, years to come, we'll do this at 9 o'clock. Some weeks I may have to push it back. Some weeks I may have to do it on a Friday. But you'll get an email from me to let you know that that's the case so that you're not left hanging. At the very least, you'll see a shout out come out on Twitter if you're following me there. So there's a couple things I want you guys and ladies to do before we wrap. We're going to get into the Q&A here. I need to keep an eye on time because this app will cut off. No, we got plenty of time. We're going to do some Q&A. We'll take some prayer requests. But before we do that, I want to recommend a couple of things. One, join my mailing list over on my website, bryantchambers.com, if you haven't already. Because a lot of these things that we're talking about, you're going to get in greater detail. I send out an encouragement message every single day. And I am going to do everything within my power to make sure I don't miss a day. Even if it means I got to make one of my kids write it. Like, I'll dictate it while he types, like if for some reason I'm tired and can't get up. So you definitely want to do that. Obviously, subscribe to the YouTube channel if you haven't already. I believe most of you watching probably are already subscribed. But if you're not, stick with us because every Monday we do Monday Motivation. Okay, this is a video where I'll take anecdotes, stories I've read in books, stories from my own life. Next week, I think it's next week, we're going to be talking about how staring death in the face gives you a new perspective on life. A personal story about me watching somebody die in combat and what that did to me, and how I turned that into a positive, and how you can turn the things that you witness in your life into a positive if you keep the right attitude. I believe that is the Monday motivation video that's coming out next week. I don't have it in front of me. But videos like that every single Monday at 7 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. I try to get them out very early. I know some of you watch from the UK, and that's not early. That's 1 o'clock in the afternoon. But I try to get them out early in the morning so that when you wake up, it's the first thing that you can take in. Something that is motivating and encouraging you, okay? A lot of times, one of the things you're going to hear me start to encourage you on as we get down the line, as we go through the programs here, you're going to start to hear me talk about things like cutting back on entertainment and doing things that are empowering. Not just listening to me, by all means. There's a million other people you could probably listen to. But I like to start the morning with scripture and things that get my mind focused in the right arena, because it's without fail. Your life every single day is going to throw something at you, even if it's minor. And some days, I won't say every day, because some days are just a complete joyride the whole day. But a lot of times you're going to run into something that if you're not in the right frame of mind, you're going to make a bad decision. This is something that soldiers and elite athletes and elite soldiers know very well. You have to be in the right frame of mind to execute your mission. Okay? If you're in the middle of getting shot at, if you don't have your emotions under control, you're not going to make the right decision when someone's trying to kill you. Likewise in life, when all of the fit is hitting the shan, as I like to say, you're not going to make the right decisions if you're not in the right frame of mind. So I send out the motivation early Monday morning. It's the first day of the work week, depending on how you look at it. Sunday is the first day of the week to many people, especially to churchgoers. Hey, Phoenix Gaming, what's up? But the point is, early Monday morning, I like to get it out so that you can take in that information and have it put you in the right frame of mind for the day. Okay, give you something encouraging to start your day with. Don't start your day with the news. And I'm going to give you guys advice. Understand that a lot of my advice is just that, suggestions. I will rarely tell you anything on this channel where I think I am absolutely right and I'm ordering you to do it. But don't turn the news on first thing in the morning. If you know, I have worked pretty heavily with the media over the course of my career, different places that I've been. Don't believe the hype. Half of the stuff that you're hearing on there, look, the news exists to sell Viagra ads, okay, depending on what time you're watching it. All right, they're selling ads. The whole mantra, we're informing the people. Come on, give me a break. I'm not saying that they don't inform people, but that stuff is skewed, and half the time it's coming from people who don't even know the subject matter they're reporting on. So even if you don't start your day with me, start your day with something that's going to put you in the right frame of mind. We talk about renewing our mind to the mind of Christ. You want to have your mind in that right frame. So Monday morning, 7 a.m., Monday Motivation comes out. Tuesday morning is when we do our book summaries at 10 a.m., okay? Wednesday mornings is when we do the Develop the Spirit, Empower the Soul videos. And I'll do one of those types. Like I have the Focus on the Family. I have the, Taking Care of Your Body, Empowering the Spirit, and Empowering the Soul. Every week I will do a video that falls into one of those categories. Okay, so that's like the Know Thyself series came out Tuesday. All right, so we'll have those videos on Tuesday at 10 a.m. or Tuesday's the book summaries. Wednesday at 10 a.m. is these spiritual development, encouraging the soul, developing the body, those types of things. I'm also going to have a Focus on the Family section. My wife is going to be a part of what we're doing here. We have a fairly new baby in our house, so she's not able to necessarily be as involved in my projects right now. But as the baby gets older and can not cry every time you put him down, she'll be able to join me more often. But we're going to start talking about marriage, how to have a happy marriage. Okay, we actually considered starting a separate YouTube channel just for happy marriages, but I thought for now it's good to integrate it here, not to spread ourselves too thin. Remember, the man or woman that chases 2 rabbits catches none. Okay, so focus. Right now we're focused on this movement, but we will be talking about marriage, how we've put together almost 15 years happily married. Doesn't mean it's perfect. Doesn't mean we don't have issues. We don't fight or argue in the conventional sense. Like, I have never raised my voice at my wife, but I'm also not a yeller, so that may have something to do with it. But the point is, even with the disappointments and the issues that come with being in a relationship with somebody for that long, we have been genuine. And even with my crazy, because to be married to me is, whew, her mansion, her wing of the mansion in heaven is going to be amazing for having put up with me for this many years. But how do you actually foster that relationship? How do you find somebody to get married to? We're going to have that conversation too. And a lot of it's going to not be what you think. It's certainly not going to be what you're hearing in dating blogs, oh my God, or any of this Hollywood nonsense, okay? We took it back to the old school, the way we got together, okay? And by old school, I mean like Africa, old school, okay? Jokes aside, we're going to talk about how we fostered what I think is a very successful marriage. And it has to do with selflessness. It has to do with understanding what being married is for. And most people go into a marriage because they want to be happy. That's a recipe for disaster if you're not looking at it the way the marriage is designed, which is your happiness is not your goal. Your happiness will be a result if you do it right. Those are the types of things that we're going to be covering here in the weeks, months, and years to come. I hope that you will tune in to them. So subscribe to the YouTube channel, subscribe to the newsletter. Consider becoming a partner. If you go to my website, there's a partners page. If you have it to give, by all means. If you do not, just keep coming back here and getting the free everything that we've got for you, because it's more important that you get the message than you have any type of financial thing going on. But for those that do have it to give, what you give, I always say that there's no donation too big, there's no donation too small that helps us forward the message, helps us forward the mission, and keeps the lights on, so to speak. But don't worry, the lights will stay on whether you contribute or not. We're not going to have a problem with that. So, with all of my mouth running, I believe, done. So Jolly says, so you presented her with something and a lion. I can't read it because it blurs it out. Now, by going back to Africa, what I mean is, like, you look in the old days of arranged marriages, which would sound insane by today's standards because everybody thinks that's controlling and whatever. Our marriage wasn't arranged, but our marriage was born out of prior relationships with people. Like, my wife and I knew people mutually who knew us mutually, who could bring us together. Like, the person that introduced me to my wife was he was my main man in the Army. I had basically 3 dudes that are my brothers, right? He was one of them. And so he introduced me to my wife. My wife is his cousin. So we kept it in the family. And there's something to be said for that. This guy knows me intimately. You know, and I don't mean intimately like in the weird romantic way. I mean, this dude knows about me. He's been in the field with me. He sweat with me. He's bled with me. We were in combat together. This dude knows me, okay? So he can make a recommendation to, yes, my cousin might be a good fit for you based on your disposition. You know, not the kitschy, I'm going to set you up with my girlfriend. I think you guys be great together. No, you don't. She's lonely and you just want to put her off on somebody. It wasn't like that at all. It was, you two would really be great together because of the way you think and your dreams are aligned, okay? There's a lot of things you have to take into consideration in a marriage. You know, if you're marrying someone, for example, personality type comes into it. Putting up with an NT is not for the faint of heart. It's hard, okay? We're impersonal. We can be perceived as cold, even though on camera a lot of times I come across as very caring, because I am caring. I'm deeply caring. But in normal social situations, I can come across as totally cold. You know, I there's things that I do kind of on purpose in social situations to diffuse that because I'm aware of it. But, you know, anyway, enough about that. Let's see. BC's wife has strong roots in her hair from being yeah, not that old school, Settler. Not quite that old school. Yeah, like dating websites. Oh my God. Like I was speaking of dating websites, I was one of the first people on eHarmony. Because eHarmony, when it first got started, it didn't immediately go public. They first shared it with ministers and people in ministry. And I was in ministry at the time. And so they shopped it around with churches. And our church was one of the ones that got access. And I was just like, I didn't get a match for like 7 months. And so I'm like emailing eHarmony like, yo, how come nobody's hollering at me? Like, am I a troll? Like, what did I do wrong? I was like, I know I'm not ugly, so that's not the problem. But, well, I mean, I guess maybe to some people I am. But anyway, it was like, what? And so the lady was like, you know, sometimes it's hard to, she's like, basically, if you are honest on your profile, you're very hard to match this early in our, you know, development. There's not a lot of people who are as, you know, high on themselves as you are. I was like, okay, got it. Let's see. Uh-oh, we got Anna saying word now. Oh, I knew I'd get everyone talking like that. So those are the things that we're going to talk about. Oh, and the other piece, we're going to talk fitness too. I don't know how much I'm going to incorporate fitness. It's a huge part of my life. I don't want to make it like a corny, take a selfie stick into the gym. I'm not that dude. I'm not. Like, I'll take the selfie stick like out with my outdoor workouts. I'm not taking a selfie stick to have you guys watch me bench press. Let me not say never, because I might, but I don't see that happening. But I do want to incorporate nutrition and fitness into what we do here, because it's an important part. If you don't have your health, none of this other stuff that we're talking about is going to be good. Like, if you're dying, even if every other dream comes true, you're not going to be around to enjoy it. Phoenix Gaming says, I actually met my fiance online, not a dating website. Now, and here's the deal. I'm not against dating websites, by the way. I know I was kind of joking around. I know of people who are greatly happy. How you meet the people isn't necessarily the overall important thing. I don't want to give the impression that I'm somehow down on dating websites or meeting people online. I'm more focused on the mindset you have to have going into a marriage is the most important thing. You know, how you meet the people, you know, my way isn't necessarily the right way. My way kind of set me up for an easier road to the marriage than, you know, it's like if I had met her online, getting to know her wouldn't have had the skids greased. Like, I didn't have to, like, I was able to meet her in a completely casual environment where we were comfortable because it was family and friends. But in terms of the most important thing, it's having the right mindset going into marriage. Let's see. Game Dip says, busy worked, had class, finally. Uh-oh, I can't read it. It blurred out. So Anna says, so B, want to do a health fitness collab sometime? Sure. Yeah, I would love to do that. Any way I can help you. So if you guys don't know, Anna is a geek on a fitness mission. Anna is actually the second in command of my other YouTube channel. It helps me with the creative direction. She does all the artwork. She's working on some video series. She runs our live streams on Saturdays, where we play video games together and just hang out as friends. But she also on her channel has this fitness mission that she's going on to get in shape and really to get healthy. Something that I'm a huge proponent of. So yes, I would love to do that. Thinking cartoons, says Senelin. So with that said, I have run my mouth enough. Do we have any questions on anything we covered here or anything in general? And most importantly, do we have any prayer requests? Anything that you would like me and or the group to pray for? Like I said in the email, if the email is what brought you out to this discussion, if you have something that's more private, that you don't want to share in front of a group, you can message me here on YouTube just using the private message system, obviously not the comment section, or you can send me an email. I believe it's contact@bryantchambers.com is how you can get in touch with our team mailbox. But like I always say on every project I run, I am attached to every mailbox that I have, so I will at least be able to see it even if it's not addressed specifically to me. So Rishi says, I now connect that Anna and Hickville are the same person. Yes, Anna from Hickville Productions yes, they are the same person. So Rishi Cup says, can you explain Reboot again? Is it an organization a ministry. It's both. So Reboot Combat Recovery is a faith-based organization that's designed specifically to help combat veterans or even people who are still in the service overcome the spiritual, physical, and emotional, or I should say the spiritual and emotional wounds that come from being in combat. So anybody that's been in combat understands that that takes a toll on you spiritually and it takes a toll on you emotionally. And this program helps guys like me who am not immune to those struggles. You know, I've had my own bouts with all kinds of issues and PTSD symptoms after having been in combat. And the combat I was in wasn't half as bad as some of the stories that my friends have, and some of my friends unfortunately that aren't here anymore. So this program is designed to help men and women and families. They actually allow the families to come to the recovery meetings. They provide food, childcare, all of these different types of things, and it's awesome. I actually went through the program late last year. I contacted them. I had heard about them through another charity. Some of you guys are familiar with Operation Supply Drop, who works with gamers. They put me on to Reboot, and I was like, I want to look into this because I want to run a Reboot group to help other people like me who I know what the struggle feels like. And I called, the operations director, who was actually the guy running the program locally where I'm from. He's like, dude, come out to a meeting and see what it's all about. And he's like, and if you want, stay in the program. So like this shirt that I have, you can't get. This is for guys who have actually graduated through the recovery program. And I went through the whole thing. Like I showed up to the first meeting kind of to check it out. And after one meeting, I was sold. I was like, I want to be here for me. I've had a lot of people help me. I have a father who was in combat, 2 brothers who were in combat. So combat is a part of our family. I have guys that I can go and talk to, but going through an actual program designed to help you specifically from a spiritual perspective was awesome. And that's really what they're all about. I recommend really anybody that's been in combat go through it, even if you don't have symptoms of PTSD or you're struggling with anything. Because if nothing else, it's a place where other people who've been through what you've been through, you can just share that fellowship, that brotherhood, that sisterhood, brother-sisterhood, and that family environment. It's inviting, it's welcoming, and nothing's off the table. You know what I mean? The conversations get pretty, I'll say, animated. And, we did ours in a church, and there's no judgment. Sometimes the conversations get a little hard, but that's because people who have been through a lot, don't necessarily judge folks for maybe not using the King's English properly. But the point is, it's a safe place to come and talk about your experiences and to learn about why we feel the things we feel and why we deal with PTSD. And I can't recommend it enough. So it's a group that they're not sponsoring this. I wore it because I want to shout them out. I donate to them. And one of the things they combat specifically, I forgot to mention, is veteran suicides. If you guys aren't aware, we've lost more soldiers to suicide than we've actually lost in combat in some cases. So combating this, 22 soldiers a day, soldiers, airmen, Marines, sailors. I hate to say soldiers because I try to encompass everybody who basically the average is 22 a day take their own life. And that's something that we are fighting against. So yeah, that's it. Definitely check it out. Or if you know anybody who could use the help, send them there, please. Yes, PTSD can suck very much, especially if you don't understand why you're feeling the things that you're feeling. Okay, what did I miss? Okay. Any other questions? Yes, to Jolly's question, we are doing prayers too, taking prayer requests. May even open it up in the future to having, praise reports too. Like after we've prayed, something works out in your favor, we can tell the group about it. So any other questions? It looks like Jolly tried to say something, but it didn't come through. Or is he just pointing to PTSD sucks? Got it. The caret symbol doesn't show up on my phone. I'm looking over here on my stream and I see it. Awesome. So I don't want to close out just yet. I want to make sure everybody that has questions has a chance to ask them. And if you have prayer requests, go ahead and start to submit them. Even if I can't read them here on my camera, I can definitely capture them after the stream and make sure that I get all of them. And like I said, I pray every day. So if there's something that you're going through, Don't go through it alone. Okay, that's one thing you learn as a soldier. You do nothing alone. Everything you do is with your brothers and or your sisters in arms. And the more you try to act as a solo artist, the more you will fail. Game Dip says, I would like prayer for my girlfriend that she realizes she is beautiful and created in God's image. She may smack me for typing this as she is next to me. That was a really smooth move, by the way. But it is important. And one other thing. Okay, I'll stand by for the one other thing. So yes, I will. That's actually something I think we all can relate to. Hopefully she's not embarrassed, but that's something that we all deal with. You know, insecurities about the way we look or the way we come across. To some degree, we all struggle with that. And then he says, is prayer for God to build better faith in me? Okay, so let me speak to that a little bit if you don't mind, Game Dip. So remember, Scripture says God has given to every man the measure of faith. Okay? So the building of your faith actually comes from you. All right? It comes from spending time studying. It comes from spending time praying. But it also comes from understanding. GoToMeeting has stopped. I'm not on GoToMeeting. My phone's tripping. She's laughing. Jolly says, I have no requests, but I'm all in it for general for everyone here and our families. Amen to that, brother. So if you guys don't know, the Jolly Mage is actually a friend of mine too. He's in some of my other programs, but he is one of the people that plays live with us on our live streams on the weekends. Really good dude, man. You guys would be amazed the team that has come together with projects that I've done. By no work of my own. These are just good people who have sought me out and have become a part of what we're doing here. And I'm blessed to have people like Jolly and Anna and Rishi and Game Dip and Senelind. All these folks that come through, I want you to know that I really do appreciate you coming out and being a part. But going back to what Game Dip said, remember, your faith is yours. You work out your salvation with fear and trembling. And it's not fear in the sense of being afraid. It's with reverence and respect. And you develop your faith. And as you go through things, keeping your mind focused on God and what he's trying to do and using situations to make you stronger. As you go through those things and you get the victory, that's how your faith increases. You know, a lot of times we pray and we wait for God to do something for us that he has built within us the ability to do as long as we're connected to him and doing it in the way that he's prescribed. Okay, and he will help you. Don't get me wrong. You're not out there on an island by yourself. And by all means, walk with the other people who are in your life who can help you build up your faith. Okay? And God will walk with you every step of the way to get that done. All right? Cool. Hopefully that made sense. Anna says, no question, but there's some things going on that are hitting my mom and her PTSD, non-combat, hard. She needs prayer for peace of mind and strength. Amen. I will certainly pray for your mom, Anna, without question. Also, well played, Game Dip. And well said, Jolly. Yeah. I will certainly pray for mom, Anna, without question. And if she knows that you're making that request, you can let her know that we're praying for her. And by all means, guys, when these prayer requests come in, feel free to be a part of this corporate prayer. I don't want it to just be me. I think there's power in numbers. Yes, and when God does through us, not for us, in a sense. Yeah, that's a pretty good way of looking at it, I think there are things that he does for us, and there's things that he helps us with, but ultimately there's expectations he has for us to step up and walk into the image of himself that he's put in us. If that makes sense. Hopefully it does. Oh, Anna says, and we're blessed to have you be. Yeah. Thank you. I'm honored. I am honored. If there's any good in me, it's the shoulders I'm standing on, believe me. I am 2 steps away from probably being crazy. Okay, she doesn't know our request. Okay, so cool. Any other requests? Any other questions? We've got about 11 minutes before this app is going to shut us all off. I still don't know why this app only goes for an hour and 20 minutes. I don't know. I guess it's just built that way. But I want to thank all of you for coming out. Feel free to continue putting in prayer requests or questions while I'm closing out here, and I will get to them. But I want to thank all of you, not just for coming, but I've been looking at the numbers. Like, you all stayed here for the whole thing. That's amazing. I've never seen that on a gaming channel ever. Like, I've had nights, like Jolly can attest to this. We had one night where we had 2,000 people show up. Or it may have even been, yeah, it was almost 3,000 people showed up. I can guarantee you all 3,000 of them did not stay for the show. But all of you stayed here with me, and I appreciate that. I know Chris isn't here, but he had to go to work. I just appreciate him coming out at all to show love and respect. Really, really appreciate all of you. Love all of you and want to be a part of you reaching the goals, the destiny, and the desires that you have in your life that I believe God has put deep down in your soul and in your minds for you to accomplish. We're just going to keep going through it here the best that we can. As always, remember, if you have questions, things that you want me to make a video on, it's just a comment or a message away. I read every comment as they come in. I read every message that I get on YouTube, and believe me, I get thousands of them. I read every one. I don't respond to everyone, but I do read everyone. So if you've got questions, things that you want me to cover in the future, please do not hesitate. This channel, like I said, it's not about me. It's not just about my message. It's not just about you. It's about what we can do together collectively. And if you have questions, I can almost guarantee you that someone else has the same question and may be blessed and benefit from you asking the question and us having that conversation collectively. Okay, so if there's no other questions, no other prayer requests, God bless every single one of you all. Thank you so much for sticking with me while I ran my mouth for this entire show. It has been my honor and a blessing to come before each and every one of you. I hope to see you on the mailing list. And you can always respond to those emails too. If you have questions there, that's another way you can get in touch with me if you don't want to use the YouTube platform. That was the other thing I forgot. Snapchat. Are any of you on Snapchat? Because if you are, I'm actually going to write this in red so it stands out. This is me, Bry Chambers. And the reason why I bring this up is because I know some of you are a little adverse to using the Snapchat, and that's okay, especially ladies. And trust me, I get why. Bry Chambers, B-R-Y Chambers, on Snapchat. Follow me over there because that gives me the unique ability to combine and condense what I do in YouTube and what I do in email in one place on social media where I can reach you very quickly with just a 10-second word that can just impart something to your life, okay? And the reason why is like Twitter doesn't really allow for the type of intimate interaction that Snapchat does, because Twitter, your feed gets full and then, you guys may not see a message that I put out and things of that nature. So follow me on Snapchat so that we can have those more intimate conversations that I don't think Twitter will allow. I know most of you follow me on Twitter. So Zig Ziglar says, positive thinking will let you do everything better than negative thinking will. Roger that. So yeah, definitely follow me over there and that is going to give me an opportunity. I had some comedy stuff that I put up this past weekend. Almost fell in like a 10-foot pothole. It was hilarious. And it's an opportunity for us to interact outside of these more long-winded situations here. So definitely follow me on Snapchat. Subscribe to the mailing list. If you're interested in becoming a partner, just head over to the website and click on the partners button. We have a PayPal option and a PayWhirl option if you want to use a regular credit card. And I wanted it to be on something that was secure. So I'm going through a third party to get that done so that there's no, risk of people's stuff getting tampered with, at least not on my end. But yeah, I think I covered everything. Once again, thank you. Thank you so much. No video tomorrow. I don't think. I may have some impromptu videos here and there, some things that come up that I have ideas for. Also, considering the time I release videos, I have noticed that most of you watch my videos later in the evening. Even though I post them in the morning, most of my viewership comes in the evening. So I'm going to monitor that over time, and it was exactly the same on my other channel. For those of you that like Monday Motivation is always going to be early in the morning because I want folks to come get that first thing in the morning, get that encouragement to get on their way. But The other videos, I'm kind of open to if there's a better time to post them. I'll experiment with a couple of different things and take the metrics. But for now, we'll keep it at 10 a.m. for all the other videos, because that's been pretty much what's worked for me over time. But anyway, like I said, for like the 9th time, thank you so much for watching. God bless all of you for being a part of what we're doing here. Like I say over on Alloy 7, we are stronger than I. I love all of you guys and ladies, and I hope to see you back here on Monday and back here Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday for the next weekly wrap up. God bless y'all. Peace.